Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris Hadfield. I'm a groupie. I'll just say it. I've been 40 years in the news business, Chris, but I'm a pretty big fan. Thanks for joining us today.
You said something complimentary. Hi, how are you?
Oh,
yeah,
very
sure.
nice.
For sure. Okay, so for people who are not familiar, I think you became a kind of a sensation on YouTube. We do not have the rights to the music, but I can show the video because how did the idea first come to you that I'm going to be up in outer space? I'm going to be on the ISS. Look at this, Celeste, recording in session.
Very cool.
And
oh, wow.
I saw a comment after it got posted on YouTube where somebody had said, Chris, I want to make sure I get their comment exactly right. But one person said, this gives me chills. There just is not a better way to perform this song. And somebody else said, this might be the single best video humans have ever produced. Now,
wow.
Those are some compliments. How'd you get the idea and how did you put it together?
Well, I've always been a musician and I've fronted bands for 40 years or so. And there's a guitar permanently up on the space station just for psychological support of the people that have been living there for the last 25 years. And if you were a musician and you knew there was a guitar in a place you were going, you'd want to play it while you were there. And then I recorded and wrote an album when I was supposed to be asleep up there. And when people started hearing that I was writing and recording in my spare time while commanding the International Space Station, there was just sort of an internet clamor to cover a sort of a classic space song. And so we got permission from David Bowie, and I made an audio version with some friends who did the instrumentals on the ground, and then made that video version that you're showing clips from. And it's been seen hundreds of millions of times all around the world. And I think it helps people sort of get an intuitive sense of what spaceflight actually feels like.
Yeah, no kidding. Look at that Earth right behind you in this shot. It's just stunning.
Our interview will wrap up with you in a little while, and our streaming show will wrap up at noon here, Phoenix time. I just recommend everybody go to YouTube and watch it. It really will give you chills in terms of either putting it together or watching it afterwards. Did it convey the message you wanted to convey?
Imagine if you had spent 40 years working on a project, and then you spent, at the end of that time, 6 months living off the Earth. And then you came back down through the atmosphere, surrounded by flame, and rolled to a stop on the Earth, and then sort of emerged out shakily on your feet. What would you do with that lifetime of experience? How would you choose to share it? And so that's why I've done a National Geographic series, and why I've written 6 books, and why I work with all sorts of space companies and help run a space incubator. And it's also why I wrote space music and did a cover of a David Bowie tune. I think the experience of space flight is so new and so different, and also so perspective building, that I'm just doing my best to share it every way I think that I can.
I think you just came up with a new genre, space music.
Yeah.
It's
a very elite group of men and women who can only participate.
Highly intelligent. I'm guessing I'm going to see that on Spotify sometime in the near future. But what are your thoughts on kind of looking forward? Are there other songs you hope produce as well in space?
Well, I mean, there's a lot more going on in space than producing songs.
That is also true.
I commanded the International Space Station after 3 space flights, and we're running 200 experiments up there, and it's been a peaceful, very visible exploration focus for a quarter of a century, where anybody in the world could look up and watch that beacon of light go across the sky. It's the brightest thing in the sky after the sun and then the moon. So it's an amazing human accomplishment, and it kind of flies in the face of a lot of division that always goes on here on the surface.
Oh, so
and I
true.
think we need to understand it and extend it and share it the absolute best we can. And I'm sure that guitar is still up on the space station.
Oh,
so the crew that's up
wow.
there, whoever's a guitar player, I'm sure that they play it for birthdays and holidays, but everywhere humans have ever gone, we brought our music with you. Crews of exploration, ships have hornpipes and sea shanties, and that's just human nature, and that's not going to stop just as we're now starting to permanently leave Earth.
Okay.
True.
Now, Chris, we're up against a break. I want to talk about your book. Actually, it's a whole series of books. People who maybe followed you online might not even be aware of this genre that you have created. Do you have a couple extra minutes you can stick with us through the break?
I'd be delighted, sure.
Okay, that's
Wonderful.
great. By the way, Chris is, I guess now we could call you a retired astronaut, right? Have you had your final time up in space?
Yes, I served. I was in the military. I was a combat fighter pilot and test pilot, and then with the government for 35 years. But now I'm a private citizen. I'm doing an awful lot of other space-related things. But yes, I am no longer an active astronaut with the space agency.
Okay, so as a retiree, he's back home in Canada. By the way, I love Canada. I grew up near a town called Penticton, if you've heard of that, over in BC, and a little town called Osoyoos. My uncle had an apple orchard on Lake Osoyoos.
And Ron and his wife, they honeymooned in Canada, the great country of Canada.
Anyway, we love that we're going to get a few extra minutes with you. I'm going to pop the book up right now hold on. No, I need I need the other book cover. Hold on. Oh, this is funny because we just had Bella, can you check on that? We need the updated book cover. That was last hour's guest. Anyway, we are hanging out with the one and only Chris Hadfield. And wait till you hear about the book and the whole series of books. I can't wait to get my first Audible version.
Oh, yes.
But it's all coming up after the break. Thanks. And this is, there it is right there. We'll find out all about it from the man he's a true Renaissance man. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. And we welcome you back. We are live with astronaut Chris Hadfield.
Yes.
And Chris, we do a thing. We have cameras all over at least over North America, and we just ask people to guess where they think that particular camera was. Last hour was in Alberta.
It was.
Yes.
And it was snowy.
Yeah,
and beautiful.
Man. It was.
And where do you think this location is?
Oh, you wanted Chris to guess?
Yeah, Chris.
Okay. This could be a Canadian location, but it could also be somewhere in this big old USA. I don't know. You can see that picture, right, Chris? Any guesses?
Yeah, so it's a reasonable sized divided highway on some sort of big parking garage. And looking in the background, gosh, it could
see
be a lot of
hills?
places. But low hills on the horizon. I'd be guessing. I'll stick with North America, but I don't know where.
Okay. Well, that's a good guess. He's going with the part of the world.
Yes.
North America.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much a guarantee. Although we do have cameras in Europe too. We've shown those. Okay. So Darla says Colorado. Louis is in Oklahoma.
We've got an Alabama from Darla Nicole 93. Texas says Little Philosophy, and Colorado is Darla Nicole's final guess.
By the way, Chris, one of the things that makes our show so unique on YouTube is we actually put the comments up live on the air. So I'll just remind our audience right now that are watching from all over North America, if you have a question for Chris and his time in space or anything else, you can ask it and we will pass it along. A rare chance for you to talk to somebody who has commanded the ISS.
This is a live show. We've got Bella bringing over the answer sheet here.
Okay, ready?
It's like Star Search when they're like, I have the envelope.
I'm going to go somewhere on the East Coast. I think I'm going to go Virginia. Celeste, how about you?
Wow, Ron.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to go Massachusetts.
Okay, here we go. Virginia, Massachusetts. It is Virginia.
That's why I said.
Well, I have this map stuck in my brain, Celeste, as you well know. So here it is one more time.
What in this photo tells you it's Virginia?
The hills. There's something about those hills as you look up. If you go to D.C., and you drive out where my Aunt Nancy used to live down in the Shenandoah Valley, it's way prettier than you think it's going to, just to go into the Shenandoah Valley.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Chris, did you spend much time, I know that you are well known there in Canada. Did you spend much time either with NASA in its Houston operations or even in Washington during your time?
So I was a test pilot with the U.S. Air Force in California, and then I was a test pilot with the U.S. Navy in Maryland, so not too far from the Virginia picture you showed. And then I was in Houston for 21 years, serving with NASA as an astronaut. So yeah, and I have a place in Tampa. So yeah, spent about 30 years or so.
Did you ever get to spend much time in Arizona? This is mostly a Phoenix-based audience.
I've visited many times. I never lived there, but yeah, I've been up Grand Canyon and been to the city many times. I flew jets in and out of the various airports there, and I was at the Fiesta Bowl there for one of the great celebrations as well.
Oh, that's so
wonderful. We do have a great state.
Yeah.
Beautiful weather most of the time of the year.
I don't know about you, Celeste, but I love a murder mystery.
Yes.
And I'm currently listening to some Sherlock Holmes. There's a whole genre of Sherlock Holmes that Arthur Conan Doyle never wrote. But all the authors since then have kind of imagined what he might write about Sherlock Holmes. But anyway, if you love a good murder mystery, you just happen upon the best show on YouTube right now. How did you get into this, Chris?
I've always loved murder mysteries also, Ron. I just find when I'm reading a book, I want to be captivated and transported. I want to forget where I am. I want to forget what time of day it is. And so I've written 3 nonfiction books, but I thought it would be really fun and interesting to write fiction thrillers that have a space theme to them. And the first one's called The Apollo Murders, and it's in 15 languages and has done great, been optioned for TV and movies all around the world. And then I wrote a second one called The Defector, and then my newest one that you have up on the screen there is called Final Orbit, and it's been a #1 bestseller multiple weeks. So it's doing great, and it's a real rip snorter of a story. I think you're going to like it. And you mentioned you like the audio version. Ray Porter, who I think is one of the best audiobook readers, he kept texting me while he was doing the narration of Final Orbit, going, "This is so cool," and man, I love this part. And he really brings the books to life. So yeah, it's a fun book, and I'm just now starting into writing the 4th book in the series.
Okay, give us the lay of the land here. Give us the back cover sell on what this one is all about.
Sure. The height of conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union, the fall of the Nixon presidency and all of the illegality and all the mess that Watergate caused, the end of the Vietnam War, the rise of women's rights, the bombings that were going across the U.S. in the 70s, all of that going on. And then also the rise of the Chinese space program that was happening in the 70s. And meanwhile, overhead, there was an abandoned space station called Skylab, and there was an attempted docking between the Soviets and the Americans to show that there could be something peaceful called Apollo-Soyuz. All of that was happening at the same time in the summer that I set Final Orbit. And so it gave me a lot of room to take my characters through a really fun and action-filled suspenseful plot, and I think you're going to like the story.
We can sense your excitement about the plot.
Yeah, I'm hooked.
Is that where you get some of your inspiration? Is it from real life, or is it part of it imagination as well?
Well, about I would say 95% of the stuff that happens in Final Orbit is real things that happen, real characters, in fact. And then I have some characters that have been in all 3 of my thrillers. And they then weave their plot in amongst reality. And I'm the only fiction author in the world, thriller fiction author in the world, who's commanded a spaceship and flown us along on a flight crew on a space shuttle and been the pilot of a Soyuz. And I was NASA's director of operations in Russia and lived there for about 5 years. And so I've got a real deep personal experience with all of that. So that gives me I don't have to phone people or look things up to write a lot of it. And then I also, because I know everybody who's flown in space, I can directly talk to Gene Kranz, who's Houston, we got a problem. He's the one who said solve the Apollo 13 problems, or to Bob Crippen, who did the very first flight of the shuttle. So I talk to those guys regularly just to make sure that I'm getting all my facts right.
Oh,
and I
think goodness.
That layer of reality, you just can't tell what's real and what isn't, which for me is the mark of a really good fiction book.
Oh, for sure. You
Oh
know,
my
living down here in
goodness.
Scottsdale, passed away a few years back, but we loved him. Clive Cussler lived here, and he was such an interesting guy to
Mm.
talk to because he just came out with book after book after book. And it was, I would like to find out though, Chris. Celeste here, she someday's going to get her PhD. She already has her master's. She's a mom of three busy, active kids who are involved in sports every day. She's taught classes at the college level. We have two major universities here, GC, Grand Canyon University and ASU. I can't believe she puts everything into her. Oh, and by the way, does a morning TV show and a streaming show on YouTube. You're like this, though. The stuff that you get done kind of amazes me. Walk us through the logistics of when you sit down, how the idea first comes to you for a book like this, and do you just purposely carve out 2 hours in the morning when you're writing, and do you let the book kind of direct you for a lot of the details, or do you know from the minute you sit down pretty much how it's going to go?
Yeah, you not only have to set aside the time to write, but you've got to clear the other stuff out of your mind. You've got to like free up your chance to be creative. And so I when it's a writing year, because I write a book every 2 years or so, I really control my schedule so that I have free time from when I wake up until after lunch on as many days as I can possibly do that. And then I choose sort of a big story arc of where I think there's enough room to build a really interesting, twisted plot. And then over several months, I research it. And every time I come across a cool thing, I send that note to myself and I sort of build this repertoire of stuff that might happen. And then on a writing day, I get up, to the alarm, I eat a little bit, exercise, I do the 2 or 3 things you got to do every morning. There's something busy, you got to put out that little brush fire. But then I just sit down in a place with no distractions, looking at, trees in a forest and start writing. And I write, I use the same laptop I'm talking to you on, and I back at it all the time. And I try and give myself a goal, about 1,000 words if I can do it in a day. And a typical novel like Final Orbit is 100,000 words. So that's 100
Wow.
successful writing days. And so given that, I can, and then of course you got all the editing and you got to work with your editors and publishing team and all that. But that's the routine I follow. And I keep the big picture in my mind. But as you said, I set up the scenario, but then I turn my characters loose, and then they just do what they would do. And it's something they often surprise me. I'm going, well, of course, this is what Kaz would do at this. This, I know who he is. This is what he would do. This is what Svetlana would do right now. And sometimes it takes me where I wasn't expecting, which is really delightful. And I've got to keep sort of herding them along so that it gets somewhere near the ending that I was hoping the book would get to. But it's a really fun, creative process of creating a thriller fiction novel. And I take great pride in the result. But what the most fun thing is when strangers come up to me on the street and they say, oh, I love what Kaz got up to in the book. I can't wait to hear, hey, when are you going to write your next one? I want to hear what Kaz and Svetlana are up to next. Where they've become real for those other people as well, just as real as they are in my head. It's an amazing way to share sort of original artistic thought and creativity. And I love writing these books.
Give us a little personal glimpse into your life, if you don't mind. One of the things all three of us share in common is we all have 3 kids. Celeste, you have 3. I have 3. Yeah. Chris and his wife, they have 3. Are you doing Thanksgiving? Are you spending some holiday time together?
Well, let me see if this will show you. I got to get the camera to catch up. My new granddaughter. Let the camera do the
Oh my goodness, she's beautiful.
That's Ren. She's
Congratulations.
And my daughter's a professor over at Trinity in Dublin. So Ren's a little Irish girl. And then one of my kids, we have 3 kids, you're right. They're all around 40 now. One he's moved to China 20 years ago, and he married a lady from there. And so my 10-year-old granddaughter lives in China. And then my 3rd son and his wife, they have a documentary series on YouTube called Rare Earth, and they travel the world all the time. And they're kind of based in Japan. And so I have one in China, one in Japan, and one in Dublin. So we'll get together for Christmas. Thanksgiving's too hard, but we'll be together at Christmas time. time, which would be really great.
It's like the United Nations at Chris's house for the holidays. I love it. It's so wonderful.
This has been the most amazing half hour. Hey, if you're ever in Phoenix, come see us. We'd love to have you be a guest again. Chris Hadfield.
Thanks. I do cooperative projects with ASU all the time.
Oh,
and I get
wonderful.
In and out of the valley there. So I'd love to. And lovely to speak with you both and have you on. And I hope if you can take time away from all those things, Celeste, you get a chance to listen to Final Orbit over the holidays. You're going to love it.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye, everybody.
Same to you. Bye-bye.